This is your place for all things Detroit Red Wings and all things Chicago Blackhawks. With your hosts, Jordan Linscott, David Barnhouse, Nick LePage, and Tim Stompanato. This is the Stick Blade Podcast. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Stick Blade Podcast. It is your place for all things Detroit Red Wings, all things Chicago Blackhawks, and news around the NHL. The 2022 NHL playoffs are underway. The NHL had their NHL draft lottery take place this past week. There's not much to talk about for the Blackhawks or the Red Wings because both of the clubs are out of the playoffs, but we're going to talk about this whole first round that went down. Spoiler alert, it was pretty awesome. Just a lot of game sevens. The next round looks to be just as awesome. A bunch of awesome rivalries happening. That's going to be it for the show, really, just topics wise. It's kind of late. Again, the Hawks and Wings are out of the playoffs. It's the off season. There's not a ton to talk about for either club, but the playoffs are underway. I want to, first off, thank you guys for joining us here on the podcast. I'm your host for tonight, Jordan Linscott, and for my co-hosts, David Barnhouse, Nick LePage, and Tim Stompanato. Everybody, welcome to the show. Fellas, how are you guys doing?
Couldn't be better. Actually got to watch some live in-person playoff hockey, not NHL, but AHL, but still an absolute blast. So I'm doing great.
Doing great as well. Fans, you're very lucky to join us tonight. John Lennon is gonna talk with us before he goes to his rooftop concert. So
enjoy. Exactly. Let's make this quick.
That's good. I missed you guys. It's been a little bit. It's always good to join in on a Monday night, talk hockey with the boys. Get our little tinfoil hats on, maybe, and just recap. Jordan, how are you?
I'm doing all right. I mean, life's kind of been crazy for me this past week, but you know what? The hockey world's been awesome to watch.
Yeah, this is it's got to be the most entertaining first round we've seen in a long time. We're not going to go too deep into it yet, but it's been.
We say that now.
Amazing.
So
yeah,
I don't want to say get them out of the way because the whole show is based around talking about the Red Wings and the Blackhawks, but I want to get to the first round as soon as we can because that was such an awesome first round for the playoffs. On the Wings side of the podcast, the only piece of news that I've seen this week, the Wings signed Pontus Andreasson from the Swedish Hockey League to a one-year contract. For anybody who doesn't know, he was the second leading rookie goal scorer. I'm trying to remember if it's goal scorer, but he was the second leading point scorer for rookies over in the Swedish Hockey League. And so 1 year deal with Detroit. Now, in the grand scheme of things, does this make huge differences to the club? No, but this is Steve Yzerman doing Steve Yzerman things. You take chances on players, and every once in a while, you find a guy who is pretty good. Over on the Blackhawks side of the podcast, unfortunately, the Marc-Andre Fleury trade that they made to Minnesota will not be yielding them a first-round draft pick. It's going to yield them a second-rounder. I believe it's 56th overall will be the draft pick that they'll be getting from that. So for a player that they picked up for basically nothing in Marc-Andre Fleury, you got a free second-round draft pick out of the deal. Also, the pick that they had was not a lottery pick, so their pick 6th overall will be going to the Columbus Blue Jackets this year. And then finally, Seth Jones is going to be captaining Team USA this year, the IIHF World Championship tournament. So that's kind of fun news for them.
Mm-hmm.
Fellas, which one are we starting with, the Red Wings or the Blackhawks this week?
Might not be a bad idea. It seems like the Red Wings have a little less. Might knock them out of the way first and then get into, because Chicago also saw the Rockford Ice Hogs eliminated in the second round of the playoffs against the Chicago Wolves. So there's a couple of things to talk about there.
So, like I just said, the Red Wings signed Pontus Andreasson from the Swedish Hockey League to a one-year contract. Basically, he was the second leading rookie scorer over in the SHL. The SHL is not a bad league. It's a league that any given day, it's 2 or 3rd in the world. It's one of those leagues where the competition is not as hard as it's going to be in the NHL level, but it's not super far off. You're going to play against guys who played at the NHL level, guys who are just on the cusp of making that. So to get a guy like this who is a pretty decent player, and to get him for a 1-year contract, not inking him to term, kind of getting to see what you have here.
Mhm.
I think this is a great move by Steve Yzerman.
Agreed. Like I said before the show started, if I'm being honest, I saw the name pop up. We signed him, and I said, "Cool. No idea who this guy is, but I trust the Yzer plan." So
Yeah, I guess that's my question. Like, again, this is not unique to take a flyer on a guy who produced well at a European hockey level. We see that all the time for every Artemi Panarin or even a Pius Suter who translates well. There's guys that don't make it. Jordan, do you know much about this player? I don't know if you've done any due diligence on him or anything like that. I'm curious what you think that like the hope is. Do we hope top 9?
Yeah, I think top 9 is the hope with Andreasson. He's not he's not going to be like a shutdown grinder who you put on your fourth. He's probably, the Wings are projecting him probably, if he gets, all said and done, all pans out, you expect him to be a middle 6 forward at the end of the day. Realistically, probably going to be a third line guy, but you know what? A third liner for free is still a third liner for free.
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, I'm just looking him up on Reddit with people talking about him. Very skilled player.
Okay, a little playmaking element.
Him and Edvinsson were 2021-2022 SHL Rookie of the Year finalists.
That's rad.
Um,
So this guy is pretty young too.
Oh yeah,
Wouldn't
he's
be-
super young. Like, he's got
Wouldn't-
time to grow.
Wouldn't be
Fantastic.
surprised if the Wings were also scouting the head coaches in Sweden for the assistant and head coach vacancies as well.
Remember when I said I
Yeah.
think they should grab Roger Ronberg or Cam
Yep.
Abbott?
Yeah.
And your SHL to NHL pipeline has been
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Yeah, I was just about to
So,
say, if there's anyone that knows the SHL, it's Steve Yzerman. So
yeah, he's got a direct line over there.
yeah, I have no like true input on the player. Never had a reason to follow him, but like you said, SHL to NHL is quite the route for the Red Wings
So-
right now.
So if we're looking at, SHL for these players, like a lot of our great players in the pipeline, and Jordan, you said those two names. If for some random reason Steve Yzerman decides to call you and he goes, Jordan, I'm stuck. I don't know who to pick. I'm going to ask you, who do we take, Abbott or Ronberg? And
I mean,
he's
I'd be
like,
up for Rabbit.
Abbott.
I mean,
Yeah.
like, my thing has always been this, like, Abbott and Tim, you tried to talk me out of it last week
I
with
did.
like Jeremy Colleton, but I do stand by it. Cam Abbott took a team in Rogel that was getting really close to being relegated, and now they're one of the best teams in the SHL. That's not an accident. At least I don't think it's an accident.
It wasn't an accident when Colleton did it
Yeah.
either. It's just a different.
Do you think he would ask Abbott if he's ever smoked weed?
I think that's a default question for Stevie Y. I think that's his opener.
I still
That's
can't
how-
believe I still can't
Dude.
believe he asked that kid that.
They blaze up before they do the interview.
Yeah, exactly. It's
I
legal
still
now in
can't
most
believe that's
places.
the question he asks a kid in an interview before he drafts him. Like, so, you smoke weed? Like, Yzerman, what are you doing?
Wants to see how the kid reacts. I get I'm not crazy about it, but it's a style of interviewing.
As a GM of a hockey team, of one of the most historic hockey teams, that's just one of the funniest questions you could ask someone.
And also
me.
to be the captain, like
of how, yeah,
Steve Yzerman, who
the
like all these
captain.
kids grew up watching like playoff videos of. So kid, you light him up? It's like it's ridiculous.
What
But
do you
no.
want? What do you want me to say, Steve?
Yeah, are you trying to see if I'm cool or not? Or like
Kid, you a snitch?
yeah, exactly.
I'm
But
going to make a phone
no.
call right here, and I'm going to get a team to give me their first round pick. Just watch.
Stupid.
God.
But no, it's an exciting signing. I mean,
It
again,
is.
the Hawks were notoriously good with that. We got Cahoon. I know we traded for his rights, but Kubalik was a European signing. Obviously, who you know well, Pius Suter. The getting these European free agents, you just get them left and right, and then sometimes you get a Marco Dano.
I mean,
Who
the
just
last one I remember for us was Damian Brunner.
Yeah,
it's
he
been
didn't
a
really
while
pan
for you
out.
guys, I feel.
So
We haven't really had one who's really
He-
panned out. We tend
he
to
had-
take more from the college group.
he did have a pretty cool shootout goal that one game he played. But that was pretty much all I remember of him.
But no, the Wings tend to go from like the NCAA route to grab guys like Taro Hirose was one that we grabbed. Who was it? Ryan Kuffner we grabbed. Danny DeKaiser, yep.
I still think Hirose was a good move. I still expect more from him than I think we've seen.
From what I remember with interviews with veterans, like he has a very high IQ for hockey. Like he's the kind of guy that like knows where to be, position himself well. He just doesn't have like the rest of those intangibles that would make him a high quality player.
The Dylan Sakura syndrome.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly it. I get so frustrated for Dylan Sakura because you can tell it's there.
The only other piece of Wings news that I have, and it kind of ties into the whole draft lottery talk. The Wings didn't get screwed this year. They'll be staying 8th overall draft pick. We're going to get to the tinfoil hats a little bit later into the episode, but it's sad that not getting screwed is a win, but it's a win, I guess.
At the same time, though, we got screwed at the same time, is all I'm saying.
But if anyone can make magic at pick number 8, it's Steve Yzerman. And again, we were talking about this before the show. I'm convinced at this point that no matter how much of a sure thing the number 1 overall pick is, there are no sure things in a draft. And we've seen historically so many guys go in the first round that could go as late as 17, 18, 19 that become franchise level players, that become cornerstone pieces. Like, I don't know. I feel kind of weird about it now that like seeing where Seider went at 6th overall. There is Kyle Connor's another one that went not early first, but like middle first. You can get somebody phenomenal at 8 that the rest of us like plebeians don't even understand that they're there.
As of right now, Tankathon has us drafting Jonathan Leckermy-Mackey. I don't know.
Sure.
He's a centerman.
I mean, you need that.
I mean, I like. There's quite a few guys I like in this draft. I know they say it's thin, but I like Matthew Savoie. He's a kind of a smaller center, but very skilled.
He's going top 5.
I see him at 7 right now.
Tankathon has him at 5 to Philly.
But I mean, he's anywhere in that 5 to 10 range. Joakim Kemmel, he's a great sniper. I know the Wings are probably going to look for that scoring depth, scoring pieces there. But yeah, I mean, 8's not terrible.
David, where do they have Brad Lambert hitting at?
Brad Lambert.
Because
11.
They have him at 11. I feel like he was way higher up as earlier in the season.
Oh yeah, Brad Lambert. Yeah, I like him a lot too.
That's who I wanted if we were able to have our 6th overall pick. I like his style of play.
He's considered according to Tankathon, the number 5 center. It goes Wright, Cooley, Savoie, Leckermy-Mackey, and then Lambert.
Okay. But kind of getting back to your points, and that's the thing about drafts where, I mean, not to say that this isn't a deep draft, but when you get those drafts where picks 1 through 10 aren't like a really hard order,
right?
That's where you do find those players who a guy might get picked 4th overall and be a middle 6 player at best. And then you could have a guy who's picked, 12th or 13th, and he's a top 2 center or even a top line center.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're drafting guys at 17, 18 years old. Like,
they're not even full. They're not filling their bodies yet.
Exactly. There's no way that there's some guys that are sure hits. This is going to be a person. They're going to be a star, or they're going to at the very least be NHL caliber. But there's guys left and right that you draft them on the fly. This is available at 8, 9, 10, and all of a sudden you've got 2 years and they're tearing things up. Again, Zegras is a perfect example of where he went versus if we did a redraft. Give him a year or two, give him a little more muscle and development. It's a crapshoot when guys are this age.
Yeah, Nick caught my joke.
Oh yeah, no. I can kind of see Yzerman kind of just taking control of this first round because I think most teams are on board. Or they're this is a weak draft. If we could trade out of this draft, we can. Eisner's probably has been zoned in on this draft since he was with the Lightning. He's like, oh yeah, I've been looking at this guy since he was 9. Like, I don't know. Like, for all the rumors of it being a weak draft, I have a feeling it's still going to be like a decent draft. Because like I said, I like Savoy, I like Logan Cooley, Shane Wright, Kemmel, Frank Nazar, Brad Lambert, and Connor Geeky. Like, there's like some pretty decent top 6 centers in this draft.
And to your point, I feel like it's less about a deep draft and more about what's your team's investment in development and player personnel. Yeah. Like, if Buffalo or Arizona gets a top 3 player, they'll still probably ruin them. But because they're not good at development or personnel management. But someone like Stevie Y, who's investing in that and has clearly shown signs of like understanding development, working with guys, even when they're in the SHL and whatnot, if you've got the proper tools to develop, then I don't care what people say about a deep draft. You find a guy that you like, you find someone that you see the potential of what they could be based on what they are now, and you invest in that time. Like, that's how you get that person. That's how a Pavel Datsyuk goes in the 7th round and becomes a
Zetterberg goes in the 6th.
Yeah, exactly. You invest in them.
Yeah, I mean, Yzerman, he's gonna have fun. He's got 10 picks. He's got our 1st rounder. He's got ours in the Cap 2nd rounder, 3rd. He's got 3 in the 4th.
So, yeah, he's gonna be all over he's gonna be all over the draft board. I don't see him loading up on draft picks. I see him using those draft picks to trade up and get his most quality prospect on his board, where in years prior, you've seen him trading back or trading around to acquire more picks. I think he's going like he's got names circled and he's going to go target those names and use those picks to trade up.
And your team's at that point where that makes sense. Like, that's exciting.
Those are the only 2 pieces of Wings news that I have on the schedule. We can move over to the Blackhawks side of the podcast. So the first thing to get to, Minnesota, their draft pick that they're giving the Chicago Blackhawks for Marc-Andre Fleury is going to be a 2nd rounder this year. It's going to be 56th overall. I know you guys are disappointed, but you know what? Getting a 2nd round draft pick for free is not bad.
Yeah.
Nick, when we think about what we got Marc-Andre Fleury for, I mean, a 2nd is also, it's almost a joke.
Can we, I don't even remember his name.
Hakkinen?
Pete?
Yeah.
No, it's like Michael Hakkinen.
Yeah. There it is. Yeah, and he was like,
I don't know how I pulled that one out.
They kept like the Vegas didn't even want him in their organization.
They loaned him back to us.
Yeah,
they terminated his contract.
Take a, we got Fleury for free. Essentially, we traded him for a 2nd round pick, so it's nice. I think we have 5 picks in the first 3 rounds this year.
Yeah, we've got a decent, like a couple of seconds, a couple of. It depends on how far Edmonton goes and how much ice time Keith has. We could have another 2nd.
So yeah, I mean, in the end, we obviously wanted the 1st round pick. I know the Blackhawks are saying it was a conditional 1st. No, it was a conditional 2nd round pick. Yeah. So we got face value for Fleury. I think I'm going to blame it on Minnesota. They fucked it up by starting Cam Talbot. They should have just wrote out Fleury, but what is that?
Well,
no, it's just like,
I agree with you. They screwed up the way the rotation could. To me, this was on coaching even more than anything else on Minnesota. Minnesota got 100% out coached, and I've been seeing it all over. Like, I'm not crazy in this. There's people that are saying like they should have done in the 3rd game, Cam Talbot, the first time this well, to put him in cold in an elimination game is a disservice to Cam Talbot. I understand the changing of a goalie. I get it. That was the wrong game to do that in.
Yeah. But I mean, overall, you got to be happy with the 2nd, like we said,
for what we got it.
Yeah. So we got to enjoy a few months of Marc-Andre Fleury, a jersey we never thought we'd see.
And it's already one of the top selling Hawks jerseys.
Like next year, if you go to the United Center, there's probably flower jerseys all over the goddamn place. So yeah, it sucks that it's a 2nd, but it's good. It's good to have a high round draft pick. So Thanks, Minnesota.
Yeah. Again, we'll get into it more when we get into our analysis.
Yeah,
Of the first
I
round,
didn't want to
but,
go
like,
too deep into the playoff series.
I mean, it's a bummer that Ryan Hartman's out. And frankly, it's a bummer for Minnesota more than anything. Again, we'll get into it when we talk about the first round. But like, yeah, thanks for the second.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
The other piece of Hawks, or one of the other pieces of Hawks news I have on the schedule, Seth Jones is going to be captaining Team USA at the IIHF Worlds this year. That's got to be something good to see for you guys, right? Because like Jonathan Toews has got it, at least in my opinion, he's on his way out from the Chicago Blackhawks just based on like his health history. And like, do you think maybe either he takes over when Toews retires or somebody, or do you think it's still going to be Alex DeBrincat?
Nick, you want to, who do you have strong opinions or should I jump in?
You go ahead.
I'm going to jump in. I forget where I heard in some of the exit interviews, but people talked about Seth Jones being vocal in that room, being someone that could wear a letter down the line. I think DeBrincat makes a lot of sense, but I think for Seth Jones, he's a leader. He's like the wonderful combination between he's not a young kid anymore, but he's not a grizzled veteran. He's also going to be with us for the next 8 years. And like, that's the kind of person that makes sense to take on, whether it's the C or an A letter in general. That's a guy you want to have that because he's going to be around for a long time. I think it's going to depend on if a DeBrincat extension gets signed.
I think it's going to be an A for Seth Jones. I think that's going to be part of the Hawks negotiations with DeBrincat. It's like, hey, Toews is out on his way out the door eventually. Like, how would you like to be the next captain of the Chicago Blackhawks?
I think it makes sense.
I think to see if DeBrincat stays, who knows? Like, he has to survive this off season, which could be interesting. I think it would be DeBrincat, but at Seth Jones, if DeBrincat's not here, is the only other one that's like a perfect fit, him or Connor Murphy. But I think ultimately it's Seth Jones.
I like Murphy a lot as an A.
Yeah,
but I don't see him being a C.
No, because a C needs to be a franchise player.
Yeah, I mean that's it, right? And again, I know Kane's an A, but like, would he become the captain if I feel like he's good being an A? Like,
I don't think he even cares being an A. Like, he's
I
just
don't think
like,
he does.
like you want to slap this letter on me? Go ahead. Like he lets his game do the talking, and like everybody's gonna listen to Patrick Kane.
Again, it's the exact same thing with Panarin when they interviewed him. Like, what would you say if you were offered the C? He's like, I don't think I'd take it. I just want to play hockey. I'm not a very good leader. I just kind of want to shoot the puck. No, I'm with you. I think DeBrincat makes the most sense. I think he's got that fire. Like, he's been driving this team. He's the future. But Seth Jones has the leadership capability and the quality. He is our number one defenseman, and he's got the term. And I see him as the reasonable alternative to DeBrincat.
With that all being said, say hello to the new Blackhawks captain, Sam Lafferty.
I don't even care. Honestly, what is it? Jordan Martinook is the wait, no, Stahl is the captain. Who's the captain in Carolina right now?
That's what Stahl.
Is it Stahl? Okay, I thought it was Martinook. But I don't know. You've heard my rants that like I don't think that people on entry-level contracts should be able to be captain. I think it should be veterans and stuff like that. I think DeBrincat has crossed that line into the reasonable age where he could be an NHL captain and actually wield that power correctly.
Take charge of a team, yeah.
Yeah. When you're a rookie, you just haven't seen enough. I'd rather see like a fourth liner, like Dustin Brown had turned into a third line, he chipped in offensively. He's kind of just a power forward that like had a couple minutes a night, but like have that captain that knows the game, has seen the experiences. I think Seth Jones has that, but I think DeBrincat is at that age too.
Oh yeah, you can't haze your captain at the rookie party. So like,
right. Exactly. I mean, that's exactly it. Like they used to play pranks on Jonathan Toews and stuff like that because he was this serious young kid. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but yeah, it's good to see Seth Jones. He'll be wearing a
I
letter
love
somewhat
it.
in one way or another for the Blackhawks for the next 8 years.
And
But yeah,
but also like even if we take out the question if he's wearing a letter, it's a good sign. You want to see people from your
yeah,
team stepping into like an amalgamation of the best available, and they say, yeah, we want you to captain this team of different players from different backgrounds and like teams. That's exciting.
yeah. Go tamper a little bit too. Bring some talent over to
Oh,
Chicago.
absolutely. I mean, that's exactly it. Well, Sam Lafferty is also on Team USA, as was Caleb Jones, but he got hurt. He had a little like wrist injury in an exhibition game, and they took him back on a precautionary measure. Also Hawks in the World Championships.
Kurashev is Switzerland, and then future non-Hawk Eric Gustafson with the.
That's why I forgot about. That's fair.
Yeah.
It's like I know it's somebody else.
Only I had only like one more thing. It's nothing yet. It's just Blackhawks are in on KHL superstar Andrei Kuzmenko. He had 53 points in 45 games. He's coming from SKA St. Petersburg Hockey Club. So same
It's
team
one
as
of the best.
Artemi Panarin and Ilya Kovalchuk went there when he went back to Russia. So yeah, I mean he's 26 years old. Hawks are kicking the tires on him. As is every other fucking NHL team.
Right,
But
exactly. You do your due diligence.
yeah, it's good to know that the Hawks are in. I mean, just with the ties with Panarin, like Panarin was very vocal that he loved the city of Chicago. So hopefully there's some kind of influence there, and get ourselves the next Kirill Kaprizov or next Artemi Panarin. So
I love that. And just one to add to that, speaking of like rookies and new people, one final note is that the Ice Hogs were eliminated from the AHL playoffs. They swept the Texas Stars in the first round, got to the second round, but they faced conference champs, the Chicago Wolves, and they got swept in 3 games. I was able to be at game 2, which was an absolute blast to see them live. I know there's a lot of people, it's sort of a mixed emotion thing because there's people that are like, oh my gosh, they just got absolutely swept against strong competition. Like what happened? That does not take away from some of the remarkable strides that this team took this year. The growth of like a Michael Tepley who has taken leaps and bounds, our defensive core being there in person with the eye test, our defensive core and our goaltending were phenomenal. And I think our forwards had a lot of skill, real clean passes, especially like we had Alti back. Reichel looked great, but they just
he's playing big boy hockey.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. I think a lot of these kids have never played playoff hockey before at this level. And the Wolves were just faster and stronger, which is the note that Reichel knows actually from playing in the NHL. It's like, hey, we wanted to get stronger. We wanted to put on some muscle mass. I think my top 3 standouts from the game I was at, and then just from what I've seen and listened to throughout the rest of the series, Alec Regula was all over the place. He scored the lone goal for Rockford at the game I was at as a defenseman. Old Detroit Red Wings favorite, Alec Regula.
We got him for the legend, Brendan Perlini.
I mean, listen, I do love the GOAT Perlini. However, but no, he looked phenomenal. He was active defensively, disrupting plays. Offensively, he was, again, the only one that scored a goal. He was mixing it up, not being afraid to play the body. He was involved in a couple of scuffles that turned into some pretty close fights. And then Ian Mitchell was their number 1 defenseman, hands down. He was in power play, PK, 5-on-5. It felt like he was always out on the ice. It was phenomenal to see the confidence that he was playing with. He stood up for himself, stood up for other players. He was very rarely being caught making the wrong play. It's really cool to see that live. And then goalie Arvid Soderblom, ice cold. He got peppered for like 47 shots on goal, and Rockford had like 13 or something. It was not great. The Wolves just disrupted play. They couldn't generate anything. But Soderblom was completely unfazed. Was picking pucks left and right, was getting knocked around and just held his ground. The guy's got the stuff that makes an NHL caliber goalie. I'm very, very excited to see where this Rockford team goes next year.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely great to know. Just with two blue liners, obviously Mitchell's been a big name that everybody on this podcast is talking about.
Highly touted, yeah.
Like we've all talked about Ian Mitchell like through and through for like the last 2 years, so it's exciting. Soderblom, obviously, we talked about our goalie struggles in the past and going forward, so it's good to know that he's kind of lining up. And then Regula, I know it's kind of, I don't know. I mean, do you guys like even care about that trade?
It was such a nothing trade at the time.
I mean, like Perlini's not with the Red Wings anymore, so
Perlini is not in the NHL.
He's not with anybody anymore.
But so I gotta say it. Congratulations, Chicago! You guys are the first team in the NHL to beat Steve Yzerman as a GM when he's the GM of the Detroit Red Wings. Like you guys won the first trade against him.
This is the long. This is the long.
We can't even see it. We don't even know if we won the trade though. Like
this is like Yzerman's playing like 10D chess. We're gonna meet the Blackhawks in the Stanley Cup final in like 5 years from now, and Regula's
like 7.
Regula's gonna mishandle a puck, and we're gonna score the game-winning goal to win the cup.
Oh no, that's a Cam. Is it Campoli or was it Cam Barker? Which one was it? I think it was Chris Campoli that turned it over against the Canucks.
Or you could be Seabrook and shoot the puck on our own net.
Yeah.
I feel like he was pretty historic for that a couple times.
All coffee.
One last thing on Regula, Tim. Like when I remember texting the group chat about him. Like he moves a lot smoother. Like he's bigger than
a big boy.
Yeah, like he plays like he looks so big in person. And I know I was texting like kind of hyped about him, just like he seems like he's in control of everything. Like every situation he's out there, like they trust him to do it. So I'm getting more and more excited about it, like as I watch him in person.
I realistically, I think I've said this before, but he reminds me of a young Brent Seabrook in the sense that he's like big booming presence. He's got a great hard shot, like defensive first, but that shot is gonna produce a lot of like goals and then rebound goals. I loved his style of play. And again, I think him and Mitchell and probably Alex Vlasic have the best shots at being like the rookies with the NHL team next year.
Yeah, I just want to get your thoughts on it since you've seen him in person as well, like recently. So
holy cow. I'm with you, man. The hype, him in pretty much any good thing that happened on the ice that game, it was either Mitchell or Regula. And Regula was constantly mixing it up. He was the only one who stood toe to toe with the Wolves in my mind.
That's good.
Yeah, no, it was really cool to see.
Jordan, do we want to put on our tinfoil hat or do we want to put on our or do we want to go into the playoffs? What's your call?
All right. So one last piece of Hawks news, really quick.
Oh, sorry.
Their pick this year in the NHL draft was not a lottery pick, so it's going to be sixth overall going to the Columbus Blue Jackets. I mean, Nick, you texted in the group chat like you're happy that it wasn't this year because you guys want to win next year.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to miss out on like the fact that I know that in my slightest slights of mind that like we have a shot at Bedard or Michkov next year, it's gonna make next year sucking ass as desirable as possible. Like it's gonna be painful, but it's gonna be like I hate the idea of tanking, but I truly think the Blackhawks are gonna just be bad. And the fact that like we could be in for Bedard or Michkov, like two high talent, high playmaking ability, great shots. Like these are potential franchise players.
Congratulations to Buffalo and Arizona on their 2 new franchise players.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's exactly like we're not going to be as bad as Arizona. Arizona has come out and said that they are not going to ice a competitive team, basically.
But we aren't either.
But we are. We've got Kane, we've got Taves, we've got Seth Jones, we've got Murphy. Like realistically, we are not a bottom 3 team.
There's a difference
bottom
between
10 team.
I'm gonna say bottom 5 for sure.
I could see us ending like 8th or 9th, which is just gonna make me sad.
No, because the Wings went on a nice tear this year, and they finished like 8 or 9. That I don't see the
Blackhawks finish 10, and we'll get 3rd.
I don't see the Blackhawks going on any kind of winning streak. Like they'll maybe rattle off 2 or 3, but then they'll lose like 7.
I stand by the fact I think our defensive core was not as bad as it should not have been as bad as it was this year. I think that the black cloud that was over the organization as a whole had a hand in it. And I think that Colleton's nonsense put us in such a rut.
Well, the first 15 games didn't help either.
Exactly. There's so many elements, but when you've got some of these like certifiable superstars along with competent NHL players, if Kirby Doc takes a step forward, if Kurashev takes that step forward, Lafferty is able to put together some of those chances and actually finish. Man, the only issue that we really have that would allow us to be a bottom 5 team is our goaltending.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. Like, we were a bottom 6 team this year, and we had Marc-Andre Fleury stealing us wins.
You're not wrong about that. That's actually
like,
okay.
I'm like, sorry, I don't mean to like argue and be a
no, I love it. This is good. This makes good content. We should.
No, but like, who's gonna be our goalie next year? Like, I'm looking like Mikko Koskinen. Is that gonna be the Blackhawks goalie next year?
Mind if that has to be our goalie.
Thomas Greiss.
I'm all for like signing a veteran to just like plug the gap and make it so that Soderblom doesn't have to goaltend with like a not great team. I'm all for a veteran and Soderblom, or a veteran and Lankinen, where Soderblom's rocking the AHL again and Delia's gone. I have absolutely no idea who we could possibly get, but like, I'm good with like a Cam Ward move where we sign a veteran for a year, because we're not going to be, there's not someone that we should be developing right now, because Arvid Soderblom's not going to be in the best place to succeed with the Hawks next year. It's
gonna be Yaroslav Halak. That's gonna be that's gonna be the goalie for the Blackhawks next year.
I don't hate that.
No, I know. It's just gonna be one of those like cheap $1.5 million deals.
That's what Ward was. Yeah.
So I think the Blackhawks, it just excites me that the fact that we have a potential of the top 2. Like, if we would have ended with Shane Wright, don't get me wrong, I'd be bouncing off the fucking walls.
Cooley, you'd be bouncing off.
Yeah, that's true. All right, I was okay with a top 2 pick. I think just that would have progressed the rebuild a lot more if we got that top 2 pick this year. Because now, obviously, it's a mystery. But
I'd rather have a Garrett. Like, I'd rather have hit and had it.
Yeah.
Than not hit twice.
I guess
is where I'm at.
Yeah. Just sort of, I guess, how hyped up this draft class is. Like, there's like 5 franchise players in this not this draft, but the next upcoming draft. Like, that excites me. Like, you benefit from losing.
I think that's why this draft is not as hyped. Because
2
the
guys.
Next draft has so many, like, okay, this person's going to be phenomenal. That's we talked off podcast about like Shane Wright and sort of the love for Shane Wright dwindled a little bit. I think it's because of Connor Bedard or I forget his last name.
Mitchkov.
Yeah, exactly. Because of those guys, suddenly people are shifting. It's like, wait a minute, what if I didn't get this?
Yeah,
this is good, but this is better.
Look at those shiny toys.
Exactly. I think we're constantly looking at what could be, and like, anyone that got Shane Wright was going to be happy.
Well, I mean, we might as well tie it in, Jordan. Guess who's getting Shane Wright?
Yeah.
Get your hats on, ladies and gentlemen. The tinfoil is about to get super shiny in here. So the NHL had its draft lottery this week, and spoiler alert, the Montreal Canadiens will be picking first overall. Fun fact, guess what team has had the first overall pick every time it's been held in Montreal?
I bet it's Montreal. Oh, you rose your hand. I wasn't.
Who is it, David?
Is it Montreal?
Ding, 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 ding. Have a winner.
They were also the first team mathematically eliminated from they ended up being worse than Arizona this year, right?
The Red Wings had that happen to them once too, and we got 4th.
Yeah, but you're not supposed to have nice things.
True.
Well, yeah, you guys are just not allowed to have nice
things.
stuff.
Hold on. That's a different story.
Detroit versus everybody.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, the stat being like every time Montreal's had a first round pick, it's been in Montreal.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's fun to conspiracize about like the draft being rigged, but like this doesn't help the case.
No, there's so many. I think that's my issue. I am the person who constantly says like I don't think it's rigged. I think there are too many things that keep it from being rigged, even if they don't show it to us. However, the league does no favors to itself and feeds the is this rigged? Is it not? You know, it feeds the discussion, especially with things like this, where that's too weird of a coincidence.
Yeah.
Oh,
mean, the
I didn't
thing-
know. Oh God, Jordan.
No, go ahead, Nick.
No, I said I didn't know Montreal actually finished dead last. I thought it was Arizona the whole
Yeah,
time.
no, they finished dead last. Like to go from a team that was in the cup final a year ago to dead last is a buck wild adventure that I did not expect to happen. I think I had them in the finals.
You did.
Yeah, that's not good.
I
So
was
at least it's not like they were like 9th or 10th and won the lottery and got first.
But I just gotta say it. Like, why can't the NHL just broadcast the drawing live? How hard would this be for them?
I agree.
Like the NHL keeps saying, like they want transparency and like their organizations, and they want better coverage of like stuff that's going on in the league. Okay, cool. Host the draft lottery drawing live. It's
People go
very
nuts
easy.
for
All
it.
you do is you put a live video camera in a room on a hopper with like a person who's loading up with ping balls. You publish all the numbers that each team has online on like a website you can look at. And when those balls get drawn, the people who are watching can look online and verify those numbers came up and that's the team associated. It's not hard.
Yeah, tomorrow's the NBA draft lottery. Does anybody know, like, is theirs more like visual? I can't remember.
That's a great question, actually. I'm not sure.
Because the Pistons did get the number 1 pick last year, and we
'Cause,
could get it again
man,
this year. But I need
the-
to see.
The Bulls could use a little more depth.
But no, that's got to be my biggest gripe with the NHL draft is like,
Just
like
show
as
it.
much as I don't
Show
like the
it.
draft system, I get it. You got to stop teams from tanking. But the
But-
NHL, like the cards, that's so not
I-
transparent.
Seeing-
like
I'm a person that likes things that move quickly. That's why I like hockey. So seeing a giant machine with ping pong balls bouncing inside of it, like I'm excited by that.
Oh, me too. I love that. And like again, though the one thing that keeps me anchored in not thinking it's rigged is that every team does have a representative in that room. And so there's
You know they're holding Iserman down. They're like, "You be quiet."
yeah.
Shut up,
Oh, they
Steve.
don't
Shut
send
up, Steve."
Iserman and they send a proxy or something. No. But each team does have a representative in the room. We don't see it, but they do. Like you would have to assume that sooner or like an Iserman or somebody is like, hey, no, like that would piss off too many of the board of governors. That would piss off too many of the teams. That there has to be something. There's just a lot of weird coincidences, but like again, it doesn't do itself any favors for the fan base to be like, I don't care, regardless. They found a way to just show me it live.
Yeah, I mean, what's life without conspiracy theories, though?
Oh, 100%. It's a listen, I
We all
love it.
know JFK's in that room with the ping pong balls.
With JFK and Tupac are the ones spinning it.
Yep. And Elvis is just, dancing and singing.
Well, they get him as the act. Like it's
Yeah.
perfect.
And yeah, and Paul
we'll never know.
and the fake Paul McCartney because the real one died.
Yeah, the
many years
real
ago.
one's been gone. Yeah.
Sorry, I know we were talking about the Beatles earlier in this show, so I didn't know a Beatles reference in.
He's got to get to his concert soon.
Yeah, exactly. Guys, wrap it up. I've got places. I got to be at the top of Apple Records in an hour.
Sunny Lane.
But now that that's out of the way, Jordan, holy shit.
What about them playoffs, boys?
This is the best year of playoffs that we have had in my memory outside of like when the Hawks were winning.
Yeah,
So-
so my father-in-law, like, he watches hockey, he enjoys hockey, but he's been like all in on the playoffs this year. He's like, this is fun to watch. And I'm like, yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
This is the stuff that like if you're trying to get somebody into hockey, this past week was the perfect week to do it. So many game
God.
sevens. This whole like playoff series, so many overtimes, so many double overtimes.
It's so nice to watch a game 7 hockey game and overtime playoff hockey without the feelings
And
of
not be sick
stress
to my
beating
stomach.
down on
Right,
me.
exactly.
It's like my team's not in it. I don't have to be stressed and worried right now. This is fun.
I don't know if you guys watched the Dallas Calgary game last night, because I know it got late for me, so it's an extra hour later for you guys.
Yeah.
I watched it into the overtime, into the Gaudreau goal. I was like, I'm not going to bed until this is done. I don't even care. I just want to know if we're getting the Battle of Alberta. And guys, Calgary is the real deal. And Jake Ottinger is one of the best goalies that he's phenomenal. He kept Dallas alive.
And you hate Dallas.
I hate Dallas, and I do not want to give that team a lot of credit, but I will give Jake Ottinger individual human credit.
Oh my gosh. So
That's one thing I'm happy about with the Wings not being in the West Coast anymore, or the Western Conference, was I think it was either the year we won the Cup or the year we lost to Pittsburgh, but I think we had back-to-back West Coast playoff series, like the Ducks and then the Sharks or something, and it was just brutal staying up for those games.
Oh no, I hate like 9 o'clock start games especially when it's well, yeah, exactly. 9 o'clock Central, especially when it's in the playoffs. Like, you want to get kids into hockey? That's not the way. Again, I'll get on that high horse all day. But no, watching the culmination of that game 7 last night with Calgary and Dallas was just the perfect wrap up of a perfect first round.
We can only hope that round 2, with the amazing matchups we have, is going to be as good as this matchup.
I do not know how the Battle of Alberta is not the must-watch thing of the decade.
No, I mean, it's going to be like, we thought the first round was awesome. The second round is just going to be just as good.
Why don't you just be sweeps?
Yeah, and I hope not. Like but that's how it works out sometimes. Like the first round of March, the first day of March Madness is all insane, and it's like, oh, it's chalk. But like this past first round, I don't even know how to explain it. It's just like everything was must watch.
It
like,
was.
I had to take a pee break real quick, but I don't mean to like.
That's what Colorado did.
But yeah, I mean, but yeah. Besides Colorado, like
and I think that puts them at a disadvantage. Other teams have been active, they're engaged, they're fighting, they're ready to go. You can be too rested.
Yeah, I thought Nashville was gonna. I know UC Saros going down with a sprained ankle like the week before play. That kind of hurt, but I thought Nashville was gonna compete a little more. I think I had Colorado in 5 or 6. But that series, so that was a wash. Capitals gave it a hell of a fight against the Panthers. That was awesome. I mean, it took a pulled goalie and like a puck going in by like a quarter of an inch. That's what changed the series. And then
Gensel's goal last night was a thing of absolute beauty.
Oh yeah, the kick out to he's sick. He is filthy.
He's the future 100% for Pittsburgh.
I have so many Pittsburgh fan friends, and they're either he's our future or, oh my God, we might trade him once Crosby and Malkin are done.
You'd get the return for him, frankly.
Well, there's more to get into that whole Pittsburgh saga in a little.
I'm loving touching into that. But
after this is all said and done, but like, sorry, I'm just reminding myself of the series. Like,
Nick, remember when we traded Panarin because he wasn't a proven playoff performer? How many Hawks are in the playoffs?
Do you want me to start the rant now? Do I need?
I'm in a lot of pain, and I need you to also be in pain.
It absolutely sickens me. Every game you turn on, there's a Blackhawk. There's a player that could be like the Blackhawks should be in the playoffs right now.
Teravainen, Philippe Deneau, Artemi Panarin, Nick Leddy, Ryan Hartman,
Brandon Hagel,
Antti Raanta, David Kampf.
Wait, Nick Leddy, he's one of our guys too.
Yeah, I mean, Nick Leddy's a double for us. Yeah.
Anthony Duclair, like there's significant pieces on these playoff teams.
Go Gustav Forsling.
Yeah, Gustav.
Remember
Forsling,
when we had him?
Yeah, rush his development. Like, it's sick. Like, there was a blog posted a while ago, and it's
Brandon Saad.
Yeah, Brandon Saad. Like, there's
They just keep coming.
Ryan
I hate
Hartman.
it.
I don't know if we said Ryan Hartman. Ryan Hartman.
It's worth saying twice. Because a
Marc-Andre
lot of
Fleury.
teams passed on him.
Marc-Andre Fleury. It's just like there's pieces on every single one of these teams. Like if you just took
Duncan Keith. What are we
Duncan
doing?
Keith,
Duncan Keith.
yeah, geez, like the fact that we blew over him like it was nothing. But like there's pieces on every single one of these teams. If you just took ex-Blackhawks, you have a playoff roster.
I mean, yeah.
And they were all able to fit under the salary cap if you made things work and you played a little hardball. If you didn't lose negotiations to Brandon Saad many years ago because you were too chicken shit to go against his dad.
Or own that you lost the negotiations and didn't try and like circle back a couple years later and get rid of Artemi Panarin.
Yeah, it's just like everywhere you look, there's Blackhawks, and it's good to see them succeed. I guess that's they're not here struggling and suffering with this miserable organization right now.
I will double down all day that the most unforgivable sin to me was not the Artemi Panarin trade, but the Philippe Deneau trade.
Yeah, Deneau.
I understand every other move that was made. I get it. The Philippe Deneau trade for the husk of Fleischmann and Weiss was the most disrespectful thing in my mind.
Yeah, it's brutal. But I mean, hats off to the Oilers. They
won one.
I don't think they're moving on
it
in the next round, but
no, yeah, I don't either. But they did it. They
hell of a game against the Kings.
Yeah, the Kings. I mean, shout out to the Kings. That's a team everybody says full of AHLers. It's full of guys that like
they still
don't deserve to
took
be
it
there,
to 7.
But they gave Jonathan Quick looked like prime Jonathan Quick for
Good for him. Yeah, good for him.
So I mean, God, where else? Then
The Tampa and Toronto series, that one was just
that was filthy. That was fun.
Man, that was such a good series. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, great series, but now what do you do, boys? Like, if you
gotta cut it out. You gotta cut
you gotta burn the bridge somewhere.
I've seen arguments that this team did put forward enough effort and played as a good enough game against what could have been an Eastern Conference final like matchup that they earned one more round. I don't see how you do it with the lack of depth and the lack of defensive depth.
You can't. I'm
fine with their goaltending. I'm fine with Jack Campbell. Honestly, he's a serviceable goalie that you don't need an elite goalie. You need a goalie that's consistent, and Jack Campbell's consistent. They need a better defense and they need depth scoring.
Yeah.
That's it.
You got to cut the ties somewhere. Someone that's going to be a big change.
Yep.
You got to get rid of one of the big four, right?
And is Sheldon Keefe gone now?
I know they, it sounds like they're keeping Dubas.
Yeah, but I mean, Dubas might have to save his job.
Yeah.
The crazy.
Are they a team in for Joel Quenneville?
I think Vegas would be. You made a good point earlier in our text thread about how Trotz is a smart man and he's going to be wary of a team that has expressed a lack of loyalty. Q doesn't have that luxury. Yeah. And I think they're a team that wouldn't care about some of the implications and issues.
Yeah, we'll see. Second round's going to be fun.
I was going to say, I was looking at Toronto's, their contracts. I think William Nylander's the only one that they can trade away of the four.
He's a reasonably movable,
Tavares is no movement clause. Matthews, no movement clause. Marner, no movement clause. You have to trade Nylander. That's the only one of the big four.
He's also the lowest contract.
And he's also the cheapest one.
$6.7 million, I think, which is the easiest to swallow. And you can take that $6.7 million and diversify.
Get another high-end defenseman
for sure. We'll
give them a fourth.
Get a medium level defenseman and then get a depth score. Realistically, you could do that on $6.7 million. He's the only reasonable one you can move, I think, that teams could swallow.
Man, I really thought the Leafs were going to finally crack it this year.
No. Once they went up 3-2, I'm like, yeah, they're blowing this. There is no especially with that stat, that ridiculous Tampa stat. Like they're 17-0
in elimination games.
They've never lost 2 games. Like they haven't lost 2
or
games,
2 games
in a row.
sorry, yeah.
games coming off a loss. Like
Yeah.
since 2020?
That's ridiculous.
Since they got eliminated, since they got swept by Columbus, they haven't
Yeah.
lost 2 games in a row.
All right, John Cooper, you want a challenge? Just come to Detroit. There you
Like
go.
this,
I mean, realistically, he's playing on easy mode right now.
and then we didn't get into the Boston, Carolina. They lost Frederick Anderson, and they pulled this one out. Like they are such a great team.
They lost Ranta for a couple of games, and they pulled it out. They got a kid who, in his first 2 starts, had 4 wins. That was his stat because he came in relief in 2 of those wins. That's a crazy stat.
I mean, that first round was 5 game 7s. Like it's just one of those.
No, 6 game 7s.
Yeah.
Wait, no.
6 game 7s.
Jordan and I did the math earlier. Jordan and I did the math
Minnesota got beaten by the Blues in 6 games. Colorado 1-4.
Everyone else was a 7.
And then
everyone was also
okay.
7s. LA and
that's awesome.
Edmonton went to 7.
Yeah, Jordan
Calgary and Dallas went to 7.
Panthers Capitals were 6.
Are you sure? Ooh, I gotta check.
Yeah, they're 6. No, they're
Either
6.
way, even so, 5 game 7s is still crazy.
A whole bunch of game 7s, like, oh my god! And yeah, that Rangers Pittsburgh series was electric. The amount of come from behind wins that the Rangers pulled out.
Yeah, I mean, them and the Panthers in simultaneous times, they came down from 3-0 deficits in the same hour.
Do you remember during the Hawks and Kings years, it felt like if the Kings were down 2-0 and they were down 2, they had you right where they wanted you.
Yeah.
And they would trap you and they would just drive from there. They played better behind than they did forward.
No, that's 100% why. I mean, we'll get into the round 2 coverage here in a second, but I think it's going to be Florida and New York. I think they've overcome odds.
I still feel the same. I love Carolina, and I think that they are phenomenal. I don't even remember who I had in my original picks. I would have to reference back because I've got the memory of a goldfish. But
squirrel.
Yeah, exactly. I think they can take it to the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't see them beating Florida, but I do see them being able to take it to the finals, the conference finals.
Yeah. So what an unreal first round. Jordan, why don't you start off round 2?
Yeah.
All right. So again, round 1 was awesome this year for the playoffs. Round 2, it's going to be just as, I don't know if it's going to be as many game 7 awesomeness, but the matchups look to be awesome. So first off, you got the Battle of Florida with the Panthers versus the Lightning. You've got the Battle of Alberta. You've got Edmonton versus Calgary. You've got the Blues and the Avalanche, a team who has been just absolutely insane this year, versus the St. Louis Blues, a team who came out of nowhere a couple of years ago and won the Cup, which nobody expected. And then you've got the Rangers and the Hurricanes, which the Rangers, a team who a couple of years ago said they were rebuilding, and then the Carolina Hurricanes, a team who has been on the rise the past couple of years and I think is really hitting their apex right now.
I agree.
It just first.
It's crazy. So many good matchups.
I mean, where do we want to start on the Western Conference side? I mean, Colorado, St. Louis.
It's got to be the Avs, right?
Avs.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tim.
I've got the Avs, but I feel like there's a chance that I could be wrong. I don't feel as good about Avs over Blues as I felt with Avs over Predators.
Yeah, I got the Avs too, but I
think could go 7.
I think the Blues force at 6 or 7. I think the Blues are. I mean, the Avs are so high powered and all based off speed and skill. I think the Blues are just gonna be all right, we're gonna play this thing slow, kind of like Dallas did, and we're playing physical. We're gonna just hit, check, and just try to hold the neutral zone, and we'll see what happens.
I think with the Blues too. It's what goalie shows up for the Blues.
Yeah.
I think can Tarasenko and some of the offense drive, because I think that the Avalanche are the better team, but it depends on who shows up for the Blues.
Yeah, I mean, I still think Avs in 6, but I think this is going to be their toughest test yet. Like if they win this, then like it'll be their toughest test till the Stanley Cup.
Agreed.
The other team or other matchup in the West, you've got the Battle of Alberta, the Flames, and the Oilers. I'm gonna say I think the Oilers are winning. I thought they played crazy hard against
There's
LA.
no way.
Oh no.
No,
But
I
I think
respect your opinion.
Everybody else on this podcast, though, I think picked LA over the Oilers, and I was the only one who picked that too.
You're right. Because I definitely picked LA.
I picked Oilers.
But I don't know, like
I picked them in
Oilers.
7 too. I picked
Yeah.
them in 7, so I got that correct.
Nicely.
So
And I picked them in 6.
the two wings guys had that.
Yeah.
Except I'm going Calgary.
Yeah, give me Calgary in 7. I think it's going to be a battle,
Yep.
but I think you got to give the edge to Calgary's goaltending. I think that's going to be eventually that's going to be what's pulling them through. And I mean their depth in all 4 lines is also just amazing. You kind of like, is Edmonton's power play gonna like get them through it? Like that's what they're going to be basing.
That's what they're going to be relying on.
And I don't think it does. I think Edmonton has the star power, but Calgary has the depth. So give me Calgary in 7.
I'm 100. I think it's Calgary in 6. I really do. I think that yes, McDavid and Draisaitl are in a league all their own. But I think after that, the rest of the Calgary Flames are so deep and they're so balanced that they're going to be able to match the firepower. I think the defense is pretty well matched. I think goaltending is where this is decided. I think that Calgary's goaltending is hand over fist so much better than Edmonton's. I don't see this going to set. Like the Dallas Calgary series was a duel of goaltenders at the end.
Yeah.
We won't have that in this. And frankly, for Chicago fans that are watching this, the Battle of Alberta is like, imagine the most intense crosstown classic between the Sox and the Cubs you've ever had, and just crank up the adrenaline tenfold. Am I crazy, Nick? Like that's how I feel.
No. Yeah, it's Michael Barrett punching AJ Pierzynski in the face.
That's exactly this. That's what the Battle of Alberta is.
Times each player by 5 and match that for 6 or 7
a
games.
team of AJ Pierzynski's.
Yeah, so do we all have Calgary? Or does Jordan? You picked
Jordan's
Edmonton?
got
I'm the only one.
Edmonton. Tell
I'm
me
betting
about
on
this,
Edmonton.
Jordan. Try and sell me on it.
all right. So did you guys watch Smith play at all these playoffs?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So he wasn't like superstar awesome goaltender, but I thought he was very good comparatively speaking, like these games. And playoff McDavid has been awesome. Same as playoff Draisaitl. I honestly think playoff Draisaitl's been a little bit better than playoff McDavid, even if the stats don't show it. I like the way that they've been moving as a unit, though. That's what sold me on Edmonton. And I saw it at the end of the season, even. Edmonton seems to be clicking as a group more than just a couple players right now. That's the only reason I like them. Like, I know it's out
That's
there,
fair.
but
No, that's fair. Like I hear where you're coming from. I just feel like Calgary's had that chemistry all year.
I mean, looking at Jordan's bracket, he does have Edmonton moving on, but he has them beating Dallas. So,
Dallas took it to Game 7, though.
Yeah, no.
That went more than I thought it was going to.
Yeah.
I think I had Calgary in 5 in that. Yeah, I think no, I mean I like your point, Jordan, but I mean it all comes back to water finds its level, and I think water's gonna start leveling here soon.
Yep.
Toronto got their hearts broken. I think Edmonton's next to follow.
And we should be rooting for Edmonton, Nick, because we want that second round pick. Otherwise, we get a third.
Fuck it.
But I don't think they can make it to the. I don't think they can make it to the Stanley Cup Finals, which I think is the requirement.
Yeah, it is. So
Yeah.
I don't think there's any chance they make it to the Cup Finals. So they might as well just end here.
yeah, just yeah. Sorry, McDavid.
All right. What's our next series?
The next series, let's see. We've got the Battle of Florida, the Panthers,
Battle
and
of the Sun
Lightning.
Belt. Let's go.
This is tough. I'll go first for this one. This was tough, but I have to go with my bracket, and I picked Florida winning the cup because I loved the way they looked at the end of the season with like the 14-15 game win streak.
So good.
I think this will go the distance though. This is going to be, I think, next to the Battle of Alberta. I think this is going to be the next like really fun series to watch.
I agree.
Yeah,
I gotta say, I almost said Prez. I gotta say Panthers in 6. Like I think they're going to be worn out, or the Lightning are going to be worn out from the Toronto series.
I'm gonna say Panthers in 7. It's so hard to bet against the Lightning. I mean,
Yes.
they're on the verge of going to the Eastern Conference Final again. They're on the verge of a three-peat. We haven't seen a three-peat in forever, but that's where I think it hurts them.
Yeah.
They played so much goddamn hockey the last 2 years.
Look at the Wings, 26 years in making the playoffs, the toll it took on us. Imagine 3 straight Stanley Cup appearances.
I think this is it. Like, this is the end of the reign. It's been a hell of a reign by them, but I think this is it for at least this season. I think the Panthers, they could overcome any deficit. I know Andrei Vasilevsky is one different breed than Ilya Samsonov, but I think the Panthers had that high end talent and like the never quit mentality. And this is kind of the series we've been dreaming of. Like, they showed their rivalry throughout the regular season and like parts of last year. So, God, yeah, give me Panthers in 7.
Panthers win post-game media scrum. They're about to interview John Cooper. All of a sudden, the glass shatters. Steve Yzerman's music hits. He hands him a briefcase, and they leave.
My God, that's Stevie's music.
That's Stevie Y's music.
I'm going Panthers in 7. One thing we haven't talked about, Braden Point's hurt.
Yeah. Oh,
Ooh.
yeah. Good point.
I mean, I saw their lineup
No pun intended.
in rehearsal. There's the theater kid to be jumping out in practice today. And yeah, I don't know if Nick Paul as the second line center. I don't take away anything from what he's done, but like on the third line, I don't know if this team without Braden Point, you need to be operating on all cylinders. Victor Hedman is still an absolute animal. I don't know. I think that without Tampa on all cylinders, even if Point is dealing with injuries and playing, I think that there's a lot more wear and tear, a lot more mileage on these Lightning players, the ones that have been around, the ones that are really driving the core. And I think Florida's tasting it. I think they're on the upswing as Tampa's going down. It's going to be one of the best series that we've gotten to watch. This is going to be phenomenal hockey. But Panthers in 7.
I think the series kind of hinges on Andrei Vasilevsky. Like, if he's not on his point like he was versus the Maple Leafs, I think the Panthers are running away with this.
Same with if Bobrovsky is on. If Bobrovsky's on, or if Knight can come in relief and be on, they've got the goaltending. Both teams have Vezina caliber goaltending. It's just who's showing up.
Who's going to be more on?
So Jordan, what do you had Panthers?
He picked.
I think Panthers in 6.
Okay, so we have it as a good series. We had what,
6 or 7 for everybody.
6 or 7 for everybody.
3 7s,
Everyone's
1 6.
Panthers.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh boy, that gets me a little nervous.
Yeah, me too.
Considering most of us picked Panthers to win the cup, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
So what's next?
The last series will be the Rangers and the Hurricanes. You've got a team that a couple of years ago announced rebuild, and then a team that I think is hitting its apex with its group. Like
Panthers. Panthers.
Panthers for that too. They're that good.
By God, that's the Florida Panthers. They're on the ice. No, Hurricanes. I think Hurricanes take this one hard. Like, they are a very feisty team right now, especially after that Boston series. And I think they're gonna Panthers or not. God dang. Hurricanes in 6.
Crazy about them Panthers.
I don't know. Hurricanes in 6.
I mean, I gotta go for the Rangers.
Yeah, they're your Eastern Conference.
That's my. I gotta ride this train for as long as I can. I mean, I love the Hurricanes are such a tight team. There's no one deficiency in that team. But I think if both teams are playing at 100%, I think that the Rangers edge out what Carolina can bring.
Yeah, this is tough because I thought Boston was going to be the team that advanced, and now it's Carolina, and Carolina just looked absolutely unreal.
So good.
And with the Rangers struggling against Louis Domingue until like game 6, and they figured it out.
Third string goalie.
Yeah, no, that sucks. Listen, I don't feel good about my pick.
And they had to yank someone's helmet off and make him leave the ice to get their game-winning goal.
To be fair,
But
you get it done.
But I also think Sidney Crosby was playing at a whole nother level before he got hurt too.
I agree.
think that took a lot into it. Like, he's still the top 5 best player in the NHL, even at his age now. So yeah, I think the Rangers kind of got their mojo going. They've come back. They've fought through the difficult times, and they've overcome adversity. So I'm going to say Rangers in 7. Give me another 7-game series.
Ooh.
All right.
Jordan.
Canes and 6s, I think.
Thank you.
They have so much speed and so much skill. Like, how do you root against that group? Or like, I just don't know.
The energy
I don't feel good
from those
about
fans,
it.
too. The energy from those fans. That game 7 crowd was electric.
If it was any other team, I'd be probably saying Carolina, but I'm just digging my heels in with the Rangers.
I mean, there's a storyline here though. Adam Fox was supposed to be a Hurricane.
Yeah, he was supposed to be a Hurricane, and
Tony
he decided to hold
DeAngelo
out.
And Tony-
was a
And Tony DeAngelo was a Ranger. Like, those are the 2 high-powered offensive defensemen in this series. I think a lot is going to depend on them. I think eventually, but give me the edge over Igor Shesterkin. Will Antti Raanta stay healthy? He always has injury following him.
yeah.
Uh,
I think the
It's-
top 6 with the Rangers is infinitely like more powerhouse, like firepower than the top 6 with Carolina.
yeah, it's going to be a battle of the back ends. I mean, the Rangers are kind of not structured in their own zone, but they're good through the neutral zone, which is weird. Carolina is just good in their own zone and all over the place. So it's going to be low scoring though. I think the system with the Carolina Hurricanes, and then the Rangers just having the best goalie in the league this year kind of be there. So yeah, it's going to be fun. I think I have 3 game 7s. Everybody else has 6 or 7. So that means we're in for another good round, boys.
100%. And wait, coaching, it's Rod Brindamore and then Gerard Gallant, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, that's 2 perennial Jack Adams like
Rod
favorites.
Brindamore scares me.
He's
Rod the Bod.
He is
Yeah.
a terrifying person.
Listen, if those 2 coaches fought, Rod would win.
Rod would rip his head off and wear it as a hat.
Gallant's got that bulldog energy to him. I don't know.
It would go 7 rounds.
They would go, those 2 coaches would go 7 rounds on their own. It's gonna boil down to coaching in a lot of ways.
There you
I'm
go, 7
very
too.
excited.
But no, this second round of playoffs looks like it's going to be just as awesome as the first.
Oh, I love it.
In the words of Bart Scott, can't wait.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Like, these playoffs been so good, and the matchups are so good. Like, I feel like this is kind of like the universe's way of just making up the COVID playoffs to us. Like,
We get the Battle of Florida tomorrow, so that's going to be fun.
I was going to say something like that. Like this, we had the COVID years. This season has felt forever.
Right? With after 2 shortened seasons.
I mean, the Blackhawks season, like, we fired a coach, fired a GM, had a sexual misconduct case against us, traded for Curtis Gabriel. I forgot that happened this
He
year.
looked great. Like, he was all over the place in
Like,
Rockford.
there is so much that happened. Like, this felt like it was a 3-year process in its own. But
Yeah.
it's all paying off. Like, this playoffs is awesome. And
Rocky Wirtz lost his mind.
yeah, like, this was all in the same year. This is all in the same not 9-month span.
Yeah.
So
What a year.
yeah, props to us for sticking through our rebuilding teams. We're getting paid well for it.
To be fair, you guys weren't necessarily rebuilding at the beginning of the season.
We probably should have been. And to be fair, Nick and I stuck by in a very dark spot for our franchise props to us for sticking through that whole thing.
Just letting you guys know, Steve Yzerman would welcome you with open arms. And then he'd trade you for a 7th round pick.
And he'd flip me. Yeah.
I mean, one last thing, I guess, before we close out. I mentioned it before, I think in pre-show. We're talking about these two teams like that were legendary and going through their issues now. Rumor has it the last dance in Pittsburgh was this year.
Yeah, we got to talk about that for a second, right?
Yeah, that's the last thing I really think is worth noting. Like,
and it's really worth noting.
Pittsburgh's got a lot of guys who are up for new contracts, guys who can hit the UFA market if they want and go elsewhere. And it's not bottom 6 guys.
It's core.
It's core guys who just about any team in the NHL would be happy to have them. Like, nobody's going to say no to having Evgeny Malkin. Nobody's going to say no to Chris Letang.
And that's leaving one pissed off captain. So the rumor is,
go ahead.
Letang and Malkin during the year were offered 3-year extensions for $15 million total, putting at their AAV of $5 million. And the quote from this tweet, I know it says, sorry, Jesus. Oh, here it is. Penguins insider Real Rob Rossi says on 937 The Fan that the Penguins offered Chris Letang and Evgeny Malkin 3-year deals worth $15 million, and that those lowball offers did not sit well with Sidney Crosby.
Well, like, they just re-signed Jeff Carter for like 3.1 mil. This is asinine. Like, I get that, like,
they could lose Rust, Raquel, Malkin, and Letang.
And Rodriguez. Was it Rodriguez?
Yep, Evan Rodriguez.
Who's been killer in these playoffs so far? Or, well, was. Now they're done.
Nathan Ballou, but
I think it's look, you want to strike a balance, right? Like, you don't want to be giving out Seabrook contracts. I get it. But the issue with Seabrook's contract wasn't the number, it was the number of years for me.
Yeah.
With Malkin, I know Malkin's had injury history. I mean, so has Letang primarily.
He has a heart condition.
Yeah, but like, when one of those 3 was out, the other two, so it was, when Crosby was out, Malkin and Letang picked it. Like, there was always 2 of them usually to pick up where the other one was out, because all 3 of them have had health issues.
yeah.
You're done, right? You lose 2 of them.
Oh, if you lose 2 of them, you lose all 3.
You lose one of them, you're not in a great spot.
Well, Crosby's still on a 4-year deal.
No, he's gonna want out.
I don't know if he'll want out.
I mean, there was rumors that he was tied to Colorado before the season started.
Jordan, there's our 2C right there.
Oh my God. Could you imagine if the Wings picked up Evgeny Malkin?
I could. Or Sidney Crosby.
But I mean, because it's what, Hextall in the front office now?
Yeah.
My Pens fans would be so pissed.
I mean, there was years. I mean, it was, I think, at the start of the year that Hextall was talking about shaking things up possibly. So is this?
Could you see? I want to throw something out there to you. I know that the Avalanche have been the primary talking point because him and McKinnon have the connection. They could go, yada, yada, yada. What about Edmonton? Crosby playing second line center to McDavid.
God, that's filthy.
I think that would do it. I think that would get them a cup.
How do you make that work though? Aren't they already
You
in
have to
cap
give up
show?
a lot.
I mean,
oh my God.
Yamamoto just kind of just load up and be like, fuck it, let's get the 2 best centers in the league.
I mean, yeah, kind of. I mean, I know it didn't work for Toronto, but Crosby's on a little better deal.
Crosby's making like, what is it, like 8.7 million versus John Tavares making 11.
I just had it pulled up and I lost it. Okay.
Yeah.
Crosby's still 2 times better than Tavares too.
Oh, I 100% agree with that. I mean, you put either McKinnon and Crosby or McDavid and Crosby
So
together.
Edmonton currently has a goose egg for cap space. They're at their cap limit.
Get rid of Evander Kane. Problem solved.
I mean, yeah, he's gonna get paid too. Holy
I mean,
shit.
they
Yeah,
could
yeah.
trade away Ryan Nugent Hopkins. He makes what is it, like 7 or 8 million.
Oh
I'd-
yeah.
I'd
Nugent's
trade
a
away
big-
and Ryan Nugent Hopkins to Pittsburgh for Crosby in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
I love Ryan Nugent Hopkins, but like if you're trying to get that cup, get those last couple of years out of Crosby.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's all gonna depend on this round. I think Toronto blows it up. If Edmonton loses this round, I think Draisaitl's not even safe. So,
Ooh, have Draisaitl come to us so him and Sider can play together.
The German connection.
But holy shit! I mean, the storylines we're gonna have like just with this next 2 weeks, and then going into the off season. I already can't wait to. I know it all starts tomorrow. Like, oh, I can't
There's
wait.
so many teams that have put all their eggs in one bag. I mean, remember the start of this season? We thought Gaudreau was going to be gone at
Yeah,
the end of this. Like,
And now he realistically he should be
leaving.
getting a ton of heart votes.
I agree. He's also had such a comeback year. It's been remarkable, but put a lot of that on Daryl Sutter too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
like, yeah,
I think he has like 81 points in 5-on-5 play. Like it's like only 20 points on power play.
Gaudreau's been incredible this year. And at the start of the year, they were saying like, "Oh, Kevin Hayes is trying to get him to come to Philly." Like now, it could go anywhere. We've got several teams that are on the verge of blowing it up because they're hitching everything to one wagon. Like I'm so excited to see how this goes.
Yeah, I mean, let's just enjoy the ride, boys. We got
We got no dog in the fight.
we got 3 more rounds left.
Can't
So
wait, boys. Can't wait.
Absolutely.
here he goes. Let's have a heart attack, boys.
I'm gonna have a couple.
Doesn't affect my life.
I think that's going to be everything that I have to talk about. And I think that's everything I have on the docket. If you guys are all good with it.
I feel great.
As always, thank you to everybody who tunes in and watches or listens to the show. At the end of the day, it's a podcast by fans for fans. So we kind of just get and enjoy getting to talk about whatever we want with you guys and with each other on the show. If you have any sort of like fan feedback or like questions, comments, stuff like that, there are plenty of ways to get in touch with us. You can get in touch with us via email. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We're on SoundCloud. We're on Apple Podcast. We're basically anywhere you get your podcast fix. We're probably on there. So feel free to give us a like, follow, share, whatever the currency is of choice on the platform you found us on. And feel free to reach out to us. I mean, it's fun interacting with somebody every once in a while when we get a message here and there. So feel free to send those in. But again, thank you for tuning into the show. For your host, Jordan Linscott, and for my co-hosts, David Barnhouse, Nick LePage, and Tim Stompanato, this has been another edition of the Stick Blade Podcast. We will catch you guys back all here next time. And in the meantime, enjoy this second round of the playoffs because it looks like it's going to be a great one. We will catch you guys here later, though. Take care.
Bye, everybody.